up, everybody? Andrew Steele here. Today I'm with my buddy Jake in his 2016 Heartland Cyclone.
Yep, 4200 Ultimate.
4200 Ultimate. And how long have you owned this coach for?
We bought this in 2015, summer of 15.
And I've actually been detailing this coach out here in Sturgis every year since 2015.
Year number 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and what are some of the problems that you've had with this coach so far?
So the biggest issues we've had with the coach as a whole, to focus on the negative side on the first part of it, is a lot of water leaks. It seems like every time we take this thing on a big trip, go out of town for longer than a couple hundred miles, we'll get to our stopping point, turn the water pump on or go with some city water supply, and there's a water leak that pops on the underbelly. Go under the access point to see where it's at, and then lo and behold, the PEX line with the fittings has got right where the fitting connects, like a T-joint or something like that, there's a water leak. So I'm not sure if it was because of some inexpensive plastic that they used, or maybe not the right couplings, but it's been a really big hassle over the years to have to get access to the underbelly, find the leak, identify the point, and then usually go in to go fix that leak. I had to invest in a $200 crimp tool with some O-rings to get it to make it a fast fix, but it typically never fails. Every time we go somewhere, we usually got a water leak, and longer than a couple hundred miles. If we keep it pretty local around where we're from in the West Texas area, it's not really that big of an issue. But the long distance travel has been the problem, and we keep this thing about 65, 67 miles an hour, and I keep the tires balanced, and so and I try to keep it on really good roads, interstate highway for the most part. So I'm not driving like 80, 85.
Yeah, you're not beating this. You're not taking this thing off road at all, or
no, not at all. No.
Wow, yeah,
it's pretty well taken care of and maintained.
Oh, I know. Jake is meticulous. Trust me. He literally. Last year I was actually giving him a hard time. I'm like, dude, you're on vacation. Are you just gonna fix your RV the entire time you're here?
Yeah.
But you've probably rebuilt the entire plumbing system in this coach.
Yeah, for the most part. As a matter of fact, right now we got a leak in the back, and it's actually a gray tank leak. I haven't really tackled it yet because I got to pull the underbelly off in the back to access that point and actually identify where the leak's coming from, and then fix it. I'll have to go to Menards because we're in Rapid City right now, or Spearfish, and we'll have to go to Rapid City, go to Menards, get those fittings, and then come back and do it. So we make sure that it's on a trip or it's part of the day, and part of, it's not like a wasted endeavor to get that going. But Andrew's going back to what was funny about last year is we had the 4200 Ultimate Edition has a party deck. It's outside, and Andrew will show that to you guys here in a little bit. We actually had a massive, a water leak on the deck. I don't know if it was because the skid tape was porous or if it was just poor sealing from the factory, but the whole deck bowed up, and I had to have the whole deck replaced, which was the place that did it for me said the cost of the deck was around $4,000, $5,000, and the shipping cost was around $3,000. So all in all, it was an $8,000 fix to have that deck replaced outside. And so when it got sent back, it was put on by the guys that took care of it for me. They did a great job doing it, but it was sent back to me the exact same way the first one was, not sealed. None of the bolts were tightened up, and so I had to actually have the deck rhino lined, which I would recommend anybody else who sees this video that has a 4200 Ultimate or any type of party deck, rhino line that deck if you have this thing out a lot and access to rain, because it will bow and it will warp and you'll have to have it replaced.
Absolutely. Now, since you've redid that, was it about last year around this time, or how long has it been repaired for?
So the deck was actually replaced in October of 2018. We noticed the damage. We noticed the damage last summer, time last year, and it cost us. Like I said, I talked about the cost. So it's been like this for about 8 months. We just had it rhino lined last month. So when you guys find a place to do it, they're going to have either take the door off, or they're going to want to prep the entire side of the coach, because there's a lot of overspray and you don't want to get that real hard rhino lining petroleum material on your coach because it won't come off.
Yeah.
So it looks great. Like I said, Andrew will probably show it to you guys here in a little bit. Obviously, we've had a lot of rain up here in Spearfish, and so that water actually, it's like the deck has been sealed. It just sits on top of that deck and then just dries up.
And we'll maybe do a follow-up video a year from now. He's been coming to Sturgis every year, so maybe we'll check up with you guys in a year and see how well this rhino lining is held up. But so other than the plumbing leaks and the party deck, Are there any other problems you've had with this unit?
No, besides that, well, we did have a roof leak in the back, but I think that's typical for fifth wheels, just, part of just maintenance. And so I got that fixed. But other than that, water leaks and the party deck really have been the biggest issues we've had. Nothing electrical. ACs have worked great. The air conditioners have worked, ACs, the refrigerators work great. Trying to think of anything other problem. It's mainly water leaks and the deck.
Yeah, well, that's good. At least we know we're being totally transparent here. You've had the coach for, what was it,
5 years?
5 years
yeah,
now.
Bought it in the summer of 15, so this is year number 5.
Yeah.
We're going on it. We've put about probably 40,000 miles on it. I've had a new set of tires on it. So like I said, we take care of it pretty well. And as you guys can see on the deal, I mean, every time we leave, before we leave on a trip, I wash the coach myself.
Yep.
And wash it, dry it to make sure that it stays in nice, good condition. And we keep it in covered storage. Take the best kind of care we can of it. You spend this kind of money on an RV, you don't want to just let it go to waste.
Absolutely. No, Jake is meticulous. So what are the things that you really like about this coach?
One, the size. It's right now it's my wife and myself. We got a couple English bulldogs. And it's really roomy. It's homey. It's a 44-footer, so it's got a lot of room in it, a lot of open space. The fact that it's toy hauler, we do have a Harley Davidson we take with us, so it's easy to load up the bike, get it in a chalk, tie it down, you're good to go. The braking system and the axle system on it is fantastic. It's top of the line, so when this thing needs to stop, it stops. Obviously depending on the truck you pull it with, we pull it with the 1-ton Ford dually.
Yeah, how do you like that? While we're talking about it too, let's talk about your tow vehicle. How do you like that new Ford? He had a similar. Well, what year was your Ford F-350 before this?
I went to a Ford F-350 because I pulled it with a Dodge.
That's right, Dodge. I'm sorry.
It was a 16 Cummins 1-ton. It was a single wheel axle, so technically I was underweight with the truck. I mean, you really need to have a dually when you're pulling an RV this big. I know that the single wheels can do it, but you're looking at stopping, stability, the torque, the overall towability you're gonna see a big difference with the dually.
How was pulling this with the Ford versus, was your Dodge a 3500 as well?
It was a 1-ton, but it was a single wheel axle,
okay.
So it didn't have a dually. But the difference is the towing on it is pretty similar as far as the power. They both towed, I think, the vehicle the same. But the Ford, the stability of it in high winds, because coming up here through Wyoming, you hit some high winds. I feel it tows a lot better. I feel a lot better with the stopping power of the Ford and the dually, and the overall stability with that truck. I like. We haven't had a lot of problems with the Ford. Been a great truck. The ride on it, I think, is a lot better than the Dodge.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been hearing a lot of the Dodge guys have been switching to the Fords. Is kind of what I've heard.
Great pickup. So. I don't really have anything bad to say about the Ford. It's been a great truck.
Very cool. Very cool. So back to the coach. What do you like about it? What's
roomy, big. Like I said before, it's got a lot of cool little features to it. So you got about 3 or 4 TVs, kind of overkill for us. We don't use all of them. We just use the one here and the one on the outside in the party deck. And we go hang out and drink a beer at night or have our dogs out there with us with a campfire.
Yeah,
that's pretty nice. The party deck is one of our biggest fun points of having the coach. Is just when it's nice outside, anywhere between 50 to 80 degrees, you can light a little campfire out there and sit out there and really enjoy yourself. And it's just the biggest thing I like about it is just how roomy and homey it is. We really enjoy taking this out. You can go somewhere for 1 or 2 weeks and stay in your RV. Anywhere else you go, I think if you were to take a 2-week venture to Spearfish, South Dakota, or anywhere for that matter, you're going to spend a lot of money on lodging to stay in a room, boarding your dogs, and then having to eat out every meal. This RV right here, I mean, owning an RV and only spending $50-$60 a night, and then being able to kind of it's kind of like coming home every day, and then we go out for a motorcycle ride. It's kind of like having your home away from home and away.
Yeah.
Not as big, but definitely a lot of fun.
No, you got your garage, you put your bike underneath the fifth wheel so the bike, is safe from any hail damage. There's a lot of hail out here, that's inevitable. But one of the complaints that I have about this coach as a detailer is the rear hatch has started to oxidize, and we have waxed this coach religiously.
Yes.
And Jake really asks all the right questions. He really did his research before hiring us, made sure he was hiring the best to use top-notch waxes, And the last couple years, we've had to give that rear tailgate a lot of
attention,
a lot of extra attention, just because that gel coat oxidizes a lot quicker on the rear tailgate than the rest of the coat.
Yeah, so as you guys will know, on these Heartland RVs, well, most of it feels, but specifically the Cyclone. I don't know if Heartland has changed the dynamic of how they painted these things going forward. I've seen some of the new 2020s that look like they have more of a paint job or an anodized coat to it per se. But in these older ones, 19s and older, the front of the coach is painted with a decal. The back of the coach is a gel coat. And whenever you have a lot of access to the elements in the sun, you're going to look at you could potentially have some damage, some severe damage from the elements of that coach. And so what it looked like over the years was, I'd take it in to have it worked on or something just for the maintenance. It'd sit outside for a month, 6-8 weeks in the sun, and that sun would just blister down and beat on it. And then where I was storing it too, the back access point of the coach wasn't covered. Even though it was fully covered storage, the back of the coach was being hit by the rays of the sun. And so about 4 years worth of just constant beating up by the sun. The rest of the coach looks great. For some reason, I don't know if it was a different material they used, but the back of the coach looked really bad, and we've really been paying a lot of attention to it. Andrews and his team have done a great job over the years. They're really, really working on it, and this year they really hit it hard. The good thing is that we've changed locations to store it. Now I've actually got this thing fully covered now, so it's not getting 24/7, 365 sun rays.
And that's huge. I tell people, if you're going to have a rig with gel coat with decals, covering it is going to do better than any wax.
Yeah.
If you can keep it out of the sun, that's definitely the best way to take care of one of these. So
yeah, for sure.
So when you were shopping for this RV, I'm sure you did your homework. I know how much homework you did just to get it detailed, so I can imagine the amount of homework you did.
Yeah.
What other rigs were you looking at, and why did you end up choosing this rig?
Well, we looked at some of the voltages. My good friend of mine has a voltage RV, so that was one of the ones we looked at. And then, of course, I'd done a lot of research. The Heartland seemed like to be as far as price, competitive. And overall value, I believe. A lot of the feedback I see in the Heartland forums is that the Cyclone was the top of the line. I know that Heartland also makes a Road Warrior, I believe, but the Cyclone had gotten a lot better reviews. And when we saw the Cyclone, my wife and I felt pretty confident to stick with this one, and that's the one we went with. So.
And overall, how do you feel after 4 years of ownership? How do you feel?
We like it. I mean, we're going to hold on to it probably for another 4 years, hopefully, and see how it goes. I mean, I like to see it as an investment. We use it a lot. We take it out a lot. We do a lot of tailgating back home for the Red Raiders, guns up. We try to go to a lot of their games, football and basketball and baseball, and so we utilize this a lot to get out and really have a lot of good personal time with it. So I definitely want it to look good when we leave and stay in good working condition and just be a overall good coach for us. So the next one we buy, we've already talked about it. When it is time to buy again, we'll probably end up going again with the Cyclone. I think a lot of the kinks have been worked out for the most part. A lot of the feedback I've gotten from other people is, every RV is going to have issues. It's just, it's like a house on wheels. You're moving, it's vibrating, it's getting hit back and forth, and so there's going to be some expected wear and tear on it. But some of the nightmare stories I've heard from other RVs, we haven't had any issues with slides leaking or slides not working when we get there. Of course, then again, I also maintain the hydraulic fluid in this thing, so
maintenance is key.
Yeah.
You really got to take care of this stuff, and stuff like the hydraulic fluid and stuff that other people don't think about. When you maintain it, that makes a big difference.
Well, it's things like too, whenever you go and you store it for a month at a time, we don't use a generator a whole lot. We don't do a lot of dry camping, but we do dry camping once or twice a year. So we have a Cummins 5500 Onan in there. Want to make sure that it works all the time, and so every time we go store it, we'll clean the inside, and we utilize that time to fire the generator up, kick the ACs on, run it through a cycle, and Jessica and myself will plug the vacuum into it, and we'll vacuum and mop in here with using the power of the generator just to keep the generator going and keep it cycled.
You've got to keep running this stuff. The worst thing you can do with any of these is not use it.
Yeah, let it sit, for sure. AC, the one thing I say that you probably won't run into issues with is probably the refrigerator, letting it sit. But other than that, in my experience, if it sits too long, you might have some potential issues with it.
Very cool. Well, Jake, I greatly appreciate you sharing your story today. If you want to see more RV-related content, please subscribe.